Rolex has consistently been in vogue. For many years now, they have stood for more than just watch quality. It is therefore not surprising that some of their timepieces fetch exorbitant prices. These timepieces are the jewels of auction houses and the pride of watch collectors. But did you know that some of these timepieces weren't as well liked or sought after as they were at first? Hi, I'm Ava, and welcome to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe and tap the notification bell to be updated for more upcoming videos like this. Here are the top 5 Rolex watches that everyone wants to own. Paul Newman Rolex Daytona reference 6264 in gold, aka the most modern Daytona. Between the end of the 1960s and the start of the 1970s, very little was produced. It serves as a bridge connecting Daytona's two major periods of history. Its case and pump pushers are identical to those of the original version of the renowned Rolex chronograph. The caliber 727 was used to create this watch. The majority of the 6264 were constructed of stainless steel, while a few were made of yellow gold. There are only 10 known 18-karat yellow gold 6264 existing, making it an extremely rare item. The collectors by far are the happiest when one of these unique items surfaces on the global market. In some of the best private collections, these items are frequently the most priceless and significant components. Only a few of these items are created using the renowned Paul Newman dial. Along with the elusive lemon color, the dial was also offered in champagne and black. Although both are quite popular, black was preferred. The Rolex Daytona Paul Newman reference 6239 was available for purchase for roughly $30,000 at the start of the millennium. There are several less expensive variations of the reference on the market, even though you have to pay at least 10 times as much for it presently. However, take in mind that watches bearing the Paul Newman brand typically have exotic dials that are more colorful than the original model's silver or black dials. Because they don't sell well, Rolex ceased producing these Paul Newman dials after a while. They are currently quite uncommon, and the fact that Paul Newman wore them makes them some of the most sought-after vintage timepieces. Prices for typical Rolex Daytona Paul Newman reference 6239 watches start at around $300,000 and can easily reach $500,000. Paul Newman's own Daytona reference 6239 watch fetched a stunning $17.8 million at an auction. The Red Submariner, often referred to as a Rolex Red Submariner 1680, is an extremely uncommon and expensive timepiece. The Red Submariner's red writing on the dial may currently be its most distinctive and priceless feature. On the first Submariner 1680s, which were produced between 1967 and 1975, the term Submariner was written in red rather than the customary white. Rolex watches with red writing on them are today very expensive and sought after by collectors. For instance, the double Red Sea Dweller frequently costs 3 times as much as comparable models with white writing. Since there is only one red line of text on the Red Submariner 1680, it is more precious. Since it was the first Submariner with both a date display and the Cyclops lens above it, the Red Submariner is a significant Rolex timepiece from the past. The crystal of the watch was unique compared to previous Submariner crystals. 3 millimeters separated it from the case and bezel. This specific model may be recognized right away thanks to its distinctive characteristic. The Red Submariner 1680 uses the same 1575 chronometer movement as the 1570 movement, with the exception that it also displays the date and that the watch may dive 200 meters below the surface. Rolex collectors have always been able to tell the difference between the 7-dial versions of the Red Submariner 1680. They're called Mark 1 through 7, and there's also a version for service dials. Marks 2 and 3 were made at the same time, and it can be hard to tell them apart. The tropical dial on some Red Submariner 1680 watches is a unique shade of brown. Most likely, a manufacturing error resulted in the watch's brown dial. Due to the scarcity of brown dials, collectors are now willing to pay a high price for this defect. The majority of brown dial submariners feature Mark II or Mark III dials with case numbers that fall between 2.2 and 2.3 m. As collectors' interest in the reference has increased over the last few years, the prices and values of red subs have significantly increased. Unexpectedly, a Red Submariner 1680 costs more than a white one. Most meter-first red subs and feet-first red subs cost more than $30,000 and $20,000 respectively. For an early complete Red Submariner set that is in pristine condition, a substantially greater price will be demanded. For instance, a 2020 auction saw a Rolex Red Submariner 1680 Mark II with a brown tropical dial and bezel sell for more than $105,000. This served as the reference 1680's record. A non-tropical Red Sub 1680 Mark III sold for a bit over $70,000 in the same year. This significant Rolex reference will become more difficult to locate on the antique market as more collectors choose to add Red Submariners to their collections. Now, before we get deeper, please give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying this video so far. And also, watch until the end, because there's more of what you should know about the greatest Rolex watches of all time. Also, do you want your comments to be highlighted? Try our super thanks, and your comments will be highlighted in this video, or join our membership program. The first Bond Submariner watch is a Rolex Submariner Reference 6538. Rolex views it as having a special place, our hearts and history. Even though references 5508 and 6205 and other submariners have also received the moniker, the first submariner to show up in a James Bond film is reference 6538. Between 1954 and 1959, reference 6538 was made. It has appeared in various Bond films including Thunderball, Goldfinger, Dr. No, and From Russia with Love. Sean Connery, who plays the character, wears reference 6538 with various strap arrangements and uses it to perform his duties in each film. Connery may have given the Rolex dive watch its most iconic moment in the film Goldfinger when he lit up the watch's face with his lighter. The fact that Submariner 6538 lacks crown guards and has a large crown is one of its distinguishing features. Collectors desire it because of the references to the large crown that set it apart from the other members of the Submariner family. The reference 6538 has a nickel-finished 25 jewel caliber 1030 lever. A 60-unit black bezel that can be moved sits on top of the dial and case. It includes a big luminous dot, baton, and dagger markers, as well as a luminous Mercedes hands and a sweep center seconds. Reference 6538, sometimes known as the Bond Submariner, is more than simply a cinematic prop. Instead, it was designed with divers and other water adventure enthusiasts in mind. The screw back and wide screw down crown on the 38mm tonneau-shaped oyster case increase the case's water resistance to an astonishing 300 meters or 1,000 feet. Another timepiece shown in James Bond, worn by Honor Blackman, is the Rolex GMT Master Reference 6542. Although seeing the GMT Master in the movie was fantastic, seeing it on the wrist of Blackman was even cooler. Since it wasn't particularly normal for women to wear watches so large in those days, the fact that she wore one and was the pilot for the movie Goldfinger makes it even cooler. Pilots can simultaneously keep track of the time in 2 separate time zones, thanks to the Rolex GMT Master. Furthermore, the Rolex GMT Master hasn't seen as much alteration as some of the other well-known Rolex models. You should be prepared to spend anything between $7,500 to $150,000, depending on how good it is. In 1954, the Rolex reference 6541 Milgauss was introduced with the specific intention of shielding engineers and scientists from the effects of electromagnetic radiation. Because of their detrimental impact on the accuracy of a clock or watch, magnetic fields are well recognized to be one of nature's enemies of accurate timekeeping. To safeguard the mechanism, the secondary soft iron cage in reference 6541 adopts the concept of a Faraday cage. The introduction of anti-magnetic metals improved the magnetic resistance, and the device was suitably named the Milgauss, a contraction of the terms mil, which is French for 1000, and Gauss, which stands for the unit used to measure electromagnetic fields. The reference 6541 stands out for its distinctive spinning bezel with a red triangle, web dynamic copper honeycomb dial, and lightning bolt second hand. And that concludes our top 5 Rolex watches models ever made. Despite their outrageous prices, these watches are exquisite, and we're interested to see how they perform in the vintage market over the coming years. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and share this video. This was Ava. And speaking of outrageous prices, did you know that the most expensive watch costs $55 million? If you want to learn more, click and watch the next video here.